Happy Thanksgiving week to you and welcome in. This is Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 419. This is our Mountaineer football Kansas State recap, plus some basketball as well, plus a few other pieces of information you may be interested in, and of course, textual healing. Our boy to the far side there, look at his head's down. He's got his face fully into just notes. He's just grabbing notes. He's got things breaking hop. He's breaking down news and breaking down numbers. Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems. They happen to be your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. Go to Comax Business Systems at comaxwv.com. comaxwv.com. Three Guys also brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever RV dealer in all of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. That's the same place that currently has a $500 in your hand offer. I mean, it's not like you have to ask for it. Just here's $500. Do with it what you will. That's because last week they had a promo that West Virginia had to win. Two different teams had to win 2 games, and you did. The women's basketball team won, men's basketball team won. So as a result, you go to Burdett Camping right now. You tell them you're a Three Guys listener. You spend $1,000, and they give you $500 off. Spend $1,000, they give you $500 off. I mean, what more does one want in life?
Hoppy called it a lock when we first announced it, and he was right.
He hit it. He hit it. So thanks to the folks at Burdett Camping, and we encourage, if you need parts, sales, or service, visit those folks. You want to drive down there, I think they have Thanksgiving hours open available now at burdettcamping.com. Look at it in Winfield. And as far as our folks at Comax, you know, with everything that's going on in the world of managed IT, if you're a business owner, you need to absolutely make sure now more than ever that your stuff is safe. And that's what Comax does. They will manage your IT services. They'll manage your voice, your phone services as well. Tremendous relief when you know that someone's watching your back. And they do that with an expertise that is unparalleled in our state because they're the only elite dealer in the state of West Virginia as voted upon by ENX magazine, and they didn't do it once, twice, or 3 times. They did it 10 times. The only dealer in the state of West Virginia ever to receive that award. It's Comax Business Systems, so we invite you to check them out. All right, boys, let's jump in. Mountaineer football team fell on Saturday to the Wildcats of Kansas State, who in all likelihood are heading in to take on the TCUs in the championship game of the Big 12. KSU wins this one 48-31. Wild first quarter. More points scored in that quarter than in any game in the history of Mountaineer football. Think about that. Played a lot of football games. They put 47 points up combined between the two schools. It was 28-19 after one, and never happened before.
Played a game in that stadium where there was 133 points scored, 70-63 first Big 12 game.
Yeah.
Didn't have as many as this game did.
That's a good point. Then things cooled down. Second quarter, KSU outscores West Virginia 13-6. And then it went totally ice cold, scoring in the third quarter, zip. Fourth quarter, Kansas State gets a touchdown. West Virginia gets a touchdown, and that's it. Done. 48-31 for Kansas State. They leave Morgantown now 8-3 overall, 6-2 in the league. West Virginia falls to 4-7 and 2-6 in conference play. 1 game to go for West Virginia, and that is Saturday at I almost said high noon in Stillwater. Saturday, almost high noon. It'll be 11 a.m. there. It'll be high noon here.
Well, you don't need to do that. Just do the reverse Big 12. You don't need to acknowledge Central Time. Just only acknowledge our time.
Yeah, you're exactly
right.
Noon.
We don't acknowledge the Central Time Zone.
You're exactly right. You know that
East Coast bias.
I'm going to get more and more angry because they keep doing that. They still keep putting that Central starting time on that thing.
They're going to have to change that when the conference. Because
I'm about ready to blow a fuse, though.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just do what you're supposed to. You have an Eastern Time Zone school in your league. Address it.
You think I should write an email in all caps that says, "What is this BS?"
I thought you took care of that.
I thought I did too.
It was taken care of for a while. We have some inconsistencies.
How did we get that fixed?
I mean, I think, quite frankly, it should be an interview question for the new AD. Where do they put that on their priority list? Evaluate the football program, handle the friggin' time zone issue.
Yeah, if that was our only worry. All right, Kirchenbaum, you had some news as we went into the studio here, forcing a delay in the start of our program.
Yeah, the separation agreement is complete between WVU and Shane Lyons. It is signed by Gordon Gee and by Shane Lyons as of the 21st, I think it was as of yesterday. But just got a copy of it. So the macro is that Lyons will be paid $2.1 million as essentially the buyout, and that will be over 2 years, plus $312,000 for incentives from this year that he is due. Okay, there's a performance incentive, a service and engagement incentive, a fundraising incentive. So those were incentives that were in his contract that he's due for this year. So you're talking about $2.4 million in toto, and some of that he was already due, and then $2.1 million for the buyout. Interesting is that he is going to. I think this is really just a legal point because he's going to remain employed and be designated as a special assistant to the president through January 4th, 2023. In this capacity, employee shall engage in special projects as requested, be working from home. I just think that's a way that he can stay on the payroll and probably have health insurance or whatever for the rest of the year. I don't see him being a special assistant to the president and, them conferring, unless it's that you have to clean up some things with a new AD coming in. I mean, something like that. I mean, I guess he would agree to do that, but it's not like he's going to be helping with the search, I don't think. So stays on the payroll through the end of the year, has essentially 2 years of salary because his salary goes next year from $895 to $931. So the salary for next year and the following year is $931,000. So you add that together with another, for whatever reason, $287,500 that's added in there. So you take 2 years of the new salary plus the $287,500, and that's where you get the $2.1 million buyout.
But there's also nothing in that agreement that says there's any mitigating circumstances either. As you sometimes see in football coaches' contracts, there's a buyout, but it's reduced by the amount of a new job should they take one. That's not the case with Shane, correct?
I don't see that. I mean,
as you've looked through there, he's taking that 2.4 whether he gets another job or doesn't.
That's what it looks like to me. Yeah, I don't see any of the that's in Neil Brown's contract. That if he gets another job, then the amount he's owed is reduced by the amount he would earn. I don't see that in here. I haven't had a chance to look closely, but Ray, you didn't see it, did you?
No, I didn't see it. So that tells me the university's on the hook for that full $2.4 million, regardless of what Shane does next.
Yeah.
What are you hearing, Hoppy, as far as the search goes?
Not a word. And I think they're trying to keep this thing buttoned up for a couple of reasons. And Brad, you've been in this field before, and that is you don't want. I mean, no AD or necessarily assistant AD who currently has a job necessarily wants it be known that they're interviewing for another job. And also, if that name does get out there and then they don't get the job, then it looks bad for them. So I think they're really trying to keep a tight circle on this.
Well, the assistant ADs do want their names out.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to see the assistant AD names you see floating out there. That's good for their career to be, air quote, mentioned for the athletic director job. So
builds them leverage at their current place.
Correct. Assistant and associate ADs are scrambling to get their name out there. Who do I know?
Did you ever do that?
What?
Did you ever do it?
No. I never put my name out there for the few that I talked to. Did not. Different time, though. Different time.
What do you mean by that?
Well, it's just different time.
I mean, the other thing that I'm picking up is that that WVU, that just what the release said when Shane was essentially fired, was that, the search, a new AD, and then the new AD will evaluate the current football program and Coach Neil Brown. I know this, and this is not a secret, that Gordon Gee and the top administrators, they like Neil Brown. I mean, they like him a lot. I mean, they signed off on the hiring. They signed off on the extended contract. They like him. I mean, a lot of people like him and what the things that he has done as head coach. But, of course, the wins haven't been there. So I continue to get this feeling that they would like to find a way for him to stay. I don't think that means he automatically stays, but I think he still has the benefit of the doubt.
But if that's the case, then it won't be exclusively the decision of the new AD. Because if it's exclusively the decision of the AD, then what you just said right there doesn't matter.
I think, and again, I'm just speculating here. I'm just trying to pick up on bits and pieces. I think that if the new AD, let's take a scenario. Let's say the new AD comes in, evaluates the program, and says, look, this thing is on fire. This thing that has to change. He's got to go. The staff has to go. I got a guy. I want to bring this guy in. I think if somebody comes in as AD and they're very determined to make a change, then I think that Stuart Hall would go along with that. If the new AD comes in and does an evaluation and says, things aren't right, we've got to make some changes here, but I see some positives with Brown, and I think then that kind of tilts it in Brown's favor. Does that make sense?
The new AD's coming in with a really compressed time frame.
Absolutely.
There's going to be some heat to move quickly because you've already caused uncertainty in the marketplace here around the football program, which is going to lead to internal guys heading out. It's going to lead to uncertainty in the recruiting process, which signing day coming fast. So there's a tremendous amount of chaos around roster management now that's been created because of this move and a potential ripple effect. The new AD coming in that's going to do the evaluation here in a compressed time frame is going to have to talk to people already on the ground, correct? Wouldn't you assume that?
Yeah.
If you're doing your job as the person evaluating that has been spending 100% of your time on your job that you had previously, and you're being dropped into this situation with all of these things circling in a compressed time frame, man, that's a tough evaluation.
Very tough.
That's putting a lot of pressure on an employee that hasn't been around and seen this situation to know the ins and outs of whether it's good to bring them back or get rid of them.
Yeah, I mean,
that's we just keep saying it's going to be the new person, it's going to be the new person. If you're that new person, that's a hard evaluation. You don't know who to trust. You don't know who you can listen to. You're going to have to ask people internally. This is a tough situation.
Yeah, I mean, how would you, if you haven't been here,
right?
You haven't been over to the facilities building. You haven't been in the player locker room. You haven't, how do you know? And you're going to, as you said, Brad, try to gather that intel in a short period of time, and you don't have very good context. It's a huge lift.
Massive.
Oh.
And the importance level of this higher?
Off the chart.
We talked a little bit about it on his Fiddle Faddle Talk coffee show that he did when he had us on for about 2 minutes today.
2 hires, not just one massively important hire. 2.
No margin.
You've got to hit 2 right on the screws. You got to be sitting fastball here and hope they cheese one about 93, like about 6 miles off their fastball. Their arm's a little sore. They've got to groove 2 fastballs for you here on back-to-back pitches.
You have to hit both to the wall, or do you hit them over the wall?
No, you got to hit them out. At the very least, if you're going to hit it to the wall, it better be in the gap, off the wall, and bang around while the left fielder falls down so you can keep circling the bases. These are massive hires, or
they are.
You've got bigger long-term problems than you're currently staring at if you miss one or both of these.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree.
I mean, and think of where we are, because in a normal year, and this is anything but normal, you'd be talking about, okay, boy, Oklahoma State coming up, and where are they? And we will talk about that coming up on Wednesday, but it's secondary, if not tertiary. I mean, the season,
the winning of the game?
Yeah, the game.
Or just the game itself?
The game.
Yeah.
The game. And maybe even the winning of the game. I mean, it's just, I don't see it as terribly relevant to the big picture. I mean, unless you went out and completely laid an egg. If you go out and you get beat, but you have you still have an effort, I mean, you're kind of where you were. But the game itself is almost irrelevant to the big picture of what's going on. Not only the AD, but also the coach and the staff and the players. Players are going to be departing. Players are trying to get in. I mean, now it's all about this program and the athletic department. And the game is 15%.
You buy into that, sir?
Yeah, for the most part, because I think, and I've said it this way, the pros and cons of whether you're making a change or not, some stuff, the results not being where anybody wants them to be, that box already's checked.
Right.
Excuse me. That's in the con category.
Right.
So if you win one more, that doesn't totally swing you back over to, oh, okay, results are getting better. It's a win, and you'd rather win than lose, clearly, obviously. But I agree. That box is checked.
Yes.
Results being under expectation,
absolutely, yes.
both short-term and the 4-year are
moved
over to.
And a win doesn't change that. If you won the last 3, might have.
Yeah. Now, things like, I do think it matters. I don't know if it matters enough to stop a change or push a change, but how guys are responding, I do think matters.
Yes.
I think there's different degrees of things that are going to play into this decision. If I were coming in making this evaluation, and if I was truly making an evaluation, not just coming in saying that, if it was a true evaluation, then I would look how things go the last couple of weeks in terms of effort. Effort does matter as a secondary piece of this. If it totally falls off the ledge, well, then I think that tells you something as well.
So is Neil Brown in the plus category? You're in the minus category because of the state of things. Is he got a little bit in the plus category because the effort's still there?
It will help. It will help.
Let's see this week, because I got that. I mean, that opening to the game last week wasn't all that spectacular. In fact, I would argue something that they were not ready to go. Now, maybe some of that's senior day. We've talked about senior day a bunch, how emotional it is, and it's hard to flip a switch and get back and play. Maybe some of us, but that group wasn't ready early, but then turned around and fought back in a little bit before, again, just committing too many mistakes. So I don't know if it's all the way over there yet. But for the most part, all season, I don't think this team has laid down at any point outside of a game, maybe.
Texas Tech.
One, yeah.
I was just perusing through records here. When was the last time West Virginia went into a last game of the regular season in a similar situation? It would be Neil's first year, 2019. They were 4-7, and they went to play on the road at TCU, and they beat the TCU's 2017. That was a walk-off field goal, right? Am I remember? Oh no, that was.
Is that Esdale had that great catch?
Isaiah Esdale on the far sideline.
Had that great catch.
Yes, he did.
Dropped it in there.
Yes, that was it. And you beat them 20-17. So that's the most recent time that it's happened, but it has not happened very often where we go into the last game. You know, normally you're not in a situation where a game could potentially be argued to be, you know, of no significance whatsoever. So you got to figure out that way.
You hope, just for all of us, fans included, you just get that last game bump where some guys get to the end of the road, be it their career or be it a long season that's physically taxing, and there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. You know there's no bowl game. So you know this is the end of it. And maybe you get some guys with some personal pride on the line that are looking for some good performances to put on tape, be it for the next head coach, be it for this staff coming back saying, hey, look, I deserve some more playing time. Be it quite honestly, guys, there's going to be some players leaving over there that should probably want to put a good performance on film if they're looking to transfer to a different school. Maybe you get some personal pride here that comes across as a unit then that comes together, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
You got to have some individuals play in order for the team to play well as well.
Yeah, and that makes sense. You just don't know. You're talking about all these individuals. Clearly, they have personal pride and they're competitive, but you just don't know. We've also seen examples at every level of sport where if things have gone south, it's the end of the year, you're tired, just like, man, you're done.
Yeah,
you're done.
That's the other side. Yeah, no question.
I'll give you 2 more reference points. 2013, West Virginia had already clinched a losing record going into its last game. It was here in Morgantown. West Virginia went into the game 4-7. And Iowa State came in and absolutely went up and down. 3 overtimes. You remember that one with Paul Rhodes? They went at 52-44. That was the same year West Virginia lost to Kansas.
Correct.
Back when you did that. And it was like, and then the only other time, you go all the way back to 2001, Rich's first year, West Virginia entered its last game at 3-7 and got beat by Pitt 23-17. So it hasn't happened often.
It hasn't happened, and the situation's tough because we've seen this program lay absolute eggs on the road since September, guys. Virginia Tech on the road was the last time West Virginia even remotely showed up on the road. So that adds another element to this hop that makes it even more difficult or hard to be optimistic about what you may see.
Yes.
That perhaps is the scariest thing, the fact that you've had no great road performances with the except, well, Pitt, it was there. You had it in your hand, figuratively and literally.
Pitt and Virginia Tech.
And Virginia Tech
was right there.
But
Virginia
October
Tech, you look
on,
good. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah, correct.
But the emotional state,
completely different.
180 from Pitt.
Absolutely right.
Yes.
Absolutely right. Okay, what do we spend time talking about taking the Kansas State game? What are your takeaways?
I mean, frankly, I don't know that we need to spend a lot of time. It just, you simply were not good enough against a team that is better than you. You were disastrous on special teams. You had a horrific pick six to start the game, which put you behind the 8 ball. You did come back and at least tie it. So you lost a turnover battle and you were bad on special teams, and I think I can stop. If you want me to go on, you couldn't convert on third down, and you allowed them to convert at a high clip on third down.
Yeah.
I don't know where else to go for that. I don't know what else matters beyond that op. You just simply were not buttoned up. You were not good enough. You made too many mistakes again against a team that was just better than you. Turns into a loss.
Yeah, look, it was representative of of each team this season. Okay, West Virginia, inconsistent, too many mistakes, not buttoned up, as you said, Brad. Kansas State, solid, all 3 phases, and so that's what you got. I mean, each team did what it has done this season, and so you get that result. I think the one thing we're talking about is Garrett Green. I mean, Garrett Green came out through the pick early. They got behind, and when they got behind 14-0, I thought, you might get boat raced here. You might just get run out of the house. They did they battled back. You know, the effort was still there, and you got to start Green again this week. You have to start Green again this week. But you
also, I'll speak for myself, I also never felt like West Virginia was in a legitimate position to win that game either.
Agreed. Right. No, you never felt – I don't think Kansas State ever felt like the game was in doubt. And Kansas State's pretty good. Not great. Good. Solid.
Yeah. Good.
Solid, but again, if you want to talk macro, very solid. They just – came into your building, you didn't really challenge them much, and they had a backup quarterback going. I mean, when you start to look at where you are as a program, that's a program you line up and look directly at K-State, don't you?
Yes.
You look directly at them. A lot of the challenges you have, they have. Coach came in at the same exact time. There's a lot of similarities between West Virginia and Kansas State, and you've seen them turn a corner. Now, how long can they keep it going? You don't know. But you've seen them turn a corner and have some success now and feel like they're on a different path, and they just came in and handled you pretty easily with their backup quarterback.
Right. What I say Saturday when we were talking about the game was, you look at Kansas State, Tony, and said, that's what West Virginia used to be. That's what West Virginia, not terribly flashy, but like solid and match up against anybody. Match up against anybody. What Kansas State looked like Saturday was what West Virginia used to look like.
Yes. Agreed. They got players. Running backs really solid. Deuce Vaughn. Then they got guys. If you make everything toward Deuce Vaughn, which West Virginia did, and held him under his season average, well, then they go and they throw it to Malik Knowles.
Yeah.
Or they throw it to Phillip Brooks. Or they throw it to Cade Warner. Or they throw it to the tight end Ben Sinnott. And they don't really throw it away for the most part. They did have a pick six as well, but for the most part, that was his error. And then special teams wise, they're tough, man.
Yeah,
they got field position. They were well over 10 yards average starting point in the game. I thought at one point I looked down, it was like 11 or 12 yard above.
Yeah, that's big.
The starting point. So yeah, like you said, they just go out there and they play old school football, and that's what West Virginia under Don Nehlen used to do, right?
Yeah.
Just kind of play and make plays, and not happening. Not happening right now. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And if you do that, I think they're a perfect example in this league. You do that in this league, which is a competitive league, you're in the 7 to 8, 9 range.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they're doing.
The other thing that's impressive about them, and I think you watch moving forward here, regardless of what happens with the coaching situation, I think what they did with Adrian Martinez is pretty remarkable, guys. That's a guy that has been a turnover machine for 4 years at Nebraska. Wasn't just once or twice. Changes staffs, changes homes in a different situation, and that kid was staring down a Heisman finalist spot for much of the season. I mean, he was really good. And to be at the point in your program when you go to the backup and nobody really flinches or says, "Oh no, we got to." I'm right. Everybody, "Oh no, I got to back up in." They didn't flinch, and they changed their style of play. It's two different styles of play when Martinez versus them. So I give them a lot of credit what they've been able to do.
Colin Klein effect. He's our
Colin Klein,
offensive
but
coordinator.
I think Chris Kleiman's excellent. I think, listen, if you're in the market for finding another head coach, and again, that's why I'll go on record as continuing to say if Neil Brown doesn't work here and they make a change, that's still one of the big stunners because that's one of the things you look for. Did you win somewhere else, right? Kleiman kind of came in with a Beeline-esque resume. Not a lot of Power 5 experience, but what did he do at North Dakota State? Won a lot. He was able to translate that up, and I thought Kansas State did a really nice job or has done a really nice job here of handing the baton from one kind of coach in Bill Snyder for what he built to another coach built in that same mode.
Yes.
They didn't have these wild swings in what you were trying to get. They've kind of stayed consistent throughout that coaching change, and it's weird how some of the same things you say about Kansas State today are what you said when Bill Snyder was coaching, right?
Yes.
A lot of continuity there, even between different coaches.
One bright spot for West Virginia, and we'll see it potentially continue this Saturday, is Jalen Anderson. I don't know what they were doing defensively late in the game. I don't know if they had some seconds in there or not, but he did run the ball 7 times for 69 yards. It's a 10-yard average with a long run of 23, and you could see, I mean, he's got it, right? He's got hips. He can move. Now, obviously, there's so many other parts to the game. Can you pass protect? Can you catch the ball out of the backfield and things like that? Can you be dependable week in and week out? But that was one point to that. And Justin Johnson continues to run hard, 63 yards, averaged just a little under 6 on his 11 carries. I was happy for Sam James. And, he catches 3 touchdown passes, 3 balls for 102 yards. And, just see how this thing plays out. Cortez Braham getting better, 4 for 54.
He had a nice game.
He's a nice player.
He's coming. It would be nice if you can get some consistency there. Tomas Remak, I thought that offensive line was pretty good again. He's continued to be quietly plugged in along that line when James Gamitter went down. He's done a nice job too. Again, guys, the difference though is I would argue we should spend some more time talking about the roster for next season if this were the old days.
Yeah, but you can't.
But you can't. Right? You just can't because you don't know who's back, who's coming back, who's leaving, all of that. So you want to talk about these young guys and these guys that are stepping forth, but you also need to see if they're going to return.
Yeah.
You don't want to get your hopes up.
On the plus side, again, you don't know what it's going to look like next year. But West Virginia outrushed these guys, 153 to 143. West Virginia
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, West Virginia averaged 4.5, and K-State averaged 3.4. But K-State scored 3 on the ground, and in the passing department, they averaged 11 yards per. What they do per completion? 16 yards per completion to West Virginia's 14, and it's the mistakes, man. West Virginia had 8 penalties for 46 yards. West Virginia throws the pick 6. Turnover department, we said going into the game, you've got to win the turnover department, and West Virginia did not. And you can't do that against a quality team.
Tony,
pretty simple. It's not a difficult recipe.
Tony, a big swing in that game. Of course, I mean, most of the swings were against you, but to start the second half where you thought, okay, well, again, I don't think we ever thought that West Virginia would come back and win the game, but you say, okay, what do you see what you do here with this drive to start the second half? And I think it was the first drive of the second half where they drive down and get a little something going, had 5 penalties. 5 penalties
on the one drive.
On the one drive, and came away and got into the red zone and came away with no points.
And they had the bad snap and missed a field goal.
Yeah. I mean, that was
it was almost 9 minutes. It was 8 minutes
yeah.
plus.
And walked away with nothing with it. And you did, in spite of the 5 penalties, you were still down and with a chance to get points.
And got nothing.
Yeah, that's the way it went.
Time of possession in the third quarter, West Virginia 10-48, K-State 4-12.
And yet
you
didn't
helped
score.
Kansas State. You took 10 minutes off of the clock for them, and you didn't score.
Yeah.
You just did what they wanted to do.
You're right.
You just did what they wanted to do, and they didn't need to have the ball.
That's a good way to say that.
So, hey, thanks very much. Appreciate that possession.
Yep.
Huge.
And were those bad snaps? I couldn't tell.
I don't know what in the hell's going on there. What is going on there?
I didn't get a good look.
That's 2 weeks in a row. Whew.
Yep, that's got to get better, obviously.
I mean, that was 2, right? There's 2 there. Field goal is
Correct.
5. That's 5. The pick 6 is is 7 more, right?
Yeah.
That's 13. You can't do it.
You can't do that against the bad teams. You definitely can't do it against the good. And that's the thing. The overarching theme of this season has been mistakes. Just mistake after mistake after mistake in a lot of big moments there.
How about this?
Not good
enough to overcome the mistakes.
Yeah, and you can't overcome the mistakes. Now, I don't know if you would have overcome it against this team anyway, but we can go back through the season. Just the way this season started, we've been through this before. The mistakes in the first 2 games absolutely cost you.
How about this? I mean, last week, previewing this game, we talked about a lot of different things. Doubtful that we mentioned the name Ty Zentner. Ty Zentner.
He was on.
He was on? How about his line? He punted, he kicked off, and he kicked field goals. He punted 1 time for 56 yards. He kicked 2 field goals, 46 and 53, both season longs. He kicked off 9 times, 6 touchbacks.
Actually, I did mention his name.
Excuse me?
I did mention Zentner because I said they had a good punter, and he came on. Tony, he didn't start the season as their field goal kicker.
Self-promotion. Huh?
He did not start the season as their field goal kicker.
I know.
Then he came on. He was perfect. He was on. But again, that's what good teams do, right?
All right. Can we talk about basketball or something? I'm tired of this. This is
make your head hurt.
Yeah, I mean, the more we say it, can we talk about basketball?
The basketball squad.
Done.
The basketball squad took on the Penn Quakers on Friday evening over at the court over there on Mount Boulevard, and first time they had played them since 1980 and West Virginia was legitimately, coaches are always concerned because of the way other teams play, and then they watch a bunch of tape of the other team and they make them nervous. And so before the game, I mean, it's not BS.
Made them nervous.
Yeah, it's not BS nervousness. Seriously, it's not BS nervousness. They're just coaches like Hoppy. You get like excited about or like concerned about certain things, right?
Right.
And they're going like, man, I spread the floor, and then they can shoot it really well. But right before the game tips, their leading scorer, who averages 20 points per game, checks out with a leg injury and doesn't play. And you go like, well, that'll help. That's 20 points per game. And to their credit, West Virginia, got after him. But to Penn's credit, they're a tough, resilient bunch. I mean, I can see them winning the Ivy League. That little point guard they got, Slackert, who was a 3,000-point scorer in high school. Like, he's got no fear. He's a nice little player. But West Virginia, Eric Stevenson, Trey Mitchell, the rest of the crew, these guys took another step, I think. Now, are they there? No, they're not there yet, but they're taking every step that they conceivably can at this moment. We're going to find out Thursday night, Friday, Sunday, when they play big boy basketball in Portland, exactly where they are, because now you're gone out onto the road and the quality of competition really peaks up. So this Purdue game Thursday night is going to be very, very interesting.
Here's what they did Friday night, and I get it. I know coaches are crazy about that, but you didn't need to worry about Penn. Here's what you did, and you're going to be really good if you do this again. Shot it from 3.
Mm-hmm.
If West Virginia shoots it like that from 3, then teams are going to have a lot of problems. Now, that may be hard to pick up and replicate again, but that was the difference. West Virginia was going to win that game anyway. Then they go out and shoot like they did. Eric Stevenson was lights out, 8 of 9 from the floor, 4 of 4 from three-point land. Toussaint gave you 3 threes. This team does that. Look out. You're going to cause a lot of problems for people.
Only thing Stevenson didn't do that you would have expected probably was get technical. I mean, at some point, he probably should have done something.
I told you, that number, the over was the heavy early favorite. That number moved a ton when he came out in a post-game press conference and acknowledged that he probably talks too much.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, that's self-awareness for him. That dropped the number a little bit here.
That's high self-awareness.
That season over is going to have to go. Now it will when the games get a little closer.
What is it right now?
Well, you put it like at 6.5.
I did, then I dropped it.
It's probably down to like 4.5 now. It's moved significantly.
Well, let's set it right now, knowing what we know now before they go to Portland, because Portland could get dicey, right? So let's get it.
It'll be close games is where it's gonna where you're going to get a couple.
So what do you think? What's the number?
I think the line had to move down to about 4.5.
So is that what you're setting it at?
Yeah.
But now he's already got one, right?
I know.
So we're going to go 4.5 from here.
Yeah,
So
you
3.5.
know these lines, they constantly move.
No,
so
I
if he
wanna-
gets one against Purdue, then it's going to move again.
Yeah, but I want
That's
to
how
get
you
into
do it. That's
4.5.
how live betting works. It constantly moves when you get new information.
Let's do a hey, yo, they don't move the number on preseason football. Like, how many games are you going to win, right?
True.
So let's do one of those, too.
We already set that. You set it at 6.5.
Oh, that's too high now.
What does then people pounded you. You set a bad number. That's what happens at books all the time.
It's not good.
That's like me getting Virginia Tech at plus money this year under 6.5. Pounced on it.
4.5. I go, what? That's a lot. I know that's a lot.
You're still going under on the live line?
Under.
Yeah. Hey, you got to
So
remember
he's
that.
over on the future. That would be called the future. You're going under on the live line?
Under on the live line.
You're not sharp enough probably in basketball to get the line to move there. Go ahead and take your money.
You're right.
All due respect, of course.
All due respect. Was he chirping at the Quaker bench?
He's one of the more interesting case studies.
Can we get him on?
Oh yeah, come on in a second.
Yeah, we need to get him on.
He come on in a second.
That might be a two-parter.
Josiah Davis. I mean, every time I see, he daps me up. Says, "Dude, when am I coming back on?"
Because we had Josiah on a bunch there. Including
How about
his live
him?
commitment.
He got his first field goal.
I like it.
Yeah,
we need to get him back.
So Stevenson is an incredibly interesting study because while he didn't get a technical, he's extremely interactive in game with the coaching staff and on West Virginia's bench. Like, he'll just come over. Like, it is such a player coach thing. Like, he'll just walk over when free throws are going on. He'll just walk over to Hugs and say, "All right, here's what I got here." And I think Hugs at this point is just trying to placate him. I think Hugs just kind of give him the head nod, like, just go do what you're supposed to do.
Love it.
I mean, but the European experience that he has. The guy plays 6 years in Europe.
Yeah, right. He's been professional over there for double-digit years. He can come back. He's got some wisdom to impart.
Yeah.
Who played over there longer, him or Ruoff?
Close.
I think Ruoff brought him over. I think Ruoff brought him back. Like, people think that the kid
it was a package deal?
Yeah. Because he is Ruoff's guy. I mean, here's what I see. I see Ruoff like a kind of a Karate Kid thing where Ruoff plays the role of Mr. Miyagi. I think that is like, this is your assignment, Alex. Take him and teach him the discipline that you need to have game in and game out. So I think Alex is very much in a wax on, wax off at this point with Stevenson.
But that's a great role model for Eric because they do some things similarly. Alex was more of a three-point shooter. But you would be lucky to emulate what Alex Ruoff did from the time he left West Virginia till the time he returned as a coach.
Absolutely.
You would be in the top 1% of guys that go on and play professionally like he did. You should emulate what Alex Ruoff does and says.
So because he hit 4 threes on Friday, he now has 200 in his career, which is Ruoff-esque in a college career. Now, Alex did it at one school. Eric is doing it now at his 4th school, which I totally love. And because now I'm all about, I like stupid scores. I like stupid final scores. Like, I love a 46-42 college basketball game. I love just stupid college football scores, like 5-3 final score. And I also like guys. Now, the more schools you play that, to me, like, I'm all about that. Guys in his 7th school, why not? Why not? Do it. New world.
Well, this is going to be fun. I'm excited for this tournament because West Virginia's done exactly what it needed to do to start the season. Pounded 4 inferior teams, 1 being Power 5, just handled your business, took care of them. Now you go on the road here and get a challenge against Purdue to start, but that's a winnable game against a Purdue team. You got to go and do some things. Pick up some performances. Their free throw rate went up against Penn. I'd like to see that continue. You're going to meet some more challenges at the rim here against Purdue because of their great size and length. Contrasting styles, right? Purdue's going to want to go about as slow as anybody in the country. West Virginia's going to need to get out and run it a little bit. This will be fun.
Toussaint has played Purdue, obviously, through the years, so he's not going to back down at all, right? Toussaint will get in there. I had a guy tell me Saturday, which made me kind of scratch my head, so I want to ask you about this. So this guy is not a Mountaineer guy. You could call him like an independent sports observer who should have a high acumen in understanding what he sees.
Okay.
I said, hey, saw you over there at the game. He said, yeah. I said, what'd you think? He said, boy, they got a ton of work to do on defense. And I thought, ton of work to do on defense. Now, it's not the finished product, but they did just force 18 turnovers and held the Penns to 35% shooting from the field and 29% from three. And I thought, dude, do you know how much better they are than they were a year ago?
That's probably the key. Is are you watching for comparing them to the elite nationally, or watching in comparison to last year? Comparison to last year, this is like the John Wooden UCLA Bruins, right? I mean, you're significantly better defensively. I mean, if you just go on pure numbers again, it's got to be opponent adjusted. I mean, you're in the top 85 percentile of defensive rating teams this year. So far the defense is there, but again, you haven't played anybody that can really challenge you. So you'll have to see. You'll start to see that this week.
Yeah. Ken Pom is always a good barometer. They were 50 going into the weekend. Now they are 39 in the Ken Pom rankings, and they are great. Now, just to give you an idea, the Purdue's are 25. They're also sitting at 3-0 so far this season. They have defeated Milwaukee, the college, not the Bucks, 84-53. Beat Austin P 63-44. And beat Marquette 75-70. And they have been chilling out since last Tuesday. They haven't and won't play again until they meet West Virginia. Ken Pom has Purdue with a 58% chance to beat West Virginia. He gives them a 58% chance, so West Virginia will go in as the dog in this game. What do you think the number will be?
What's he have it at? 3?
Yeah, actually, he's got 69-67.
Yeah, be right in there.
2-3.
Be right in there. You're going to have to keep them off the glass. They're a great offensive rebounding team. And like I said, they're going to go slow.
At this point, Ken Pom does not have Purdue losing until January the 5th. Interesting.
Remember, that's fluid.
Yeah, it's fluid.
We'll do more of a preview Wednesday. I got some other numbers for you.
We'll also preview on Wednesday West Virginia and Oak State. That was a wild game in Bedlam.
Wild.
Picks.
People wondered why Oklahoma, after coming in here and laying an extreme egg, favored by a touchdown or more. You just saw. I mean, listen, if all things were being equal, I would be trending towards West Virginia in this game. The Oklahoma State is really banged up. Who knows if Spencer Sanders is going to play? They had to bring him in the second half a couple weeks ago to get the win over Iowa State. He did not look well on the sidelines, right? He was wincing noticeably.
I hurt for him watching the game because he'd go over to the sideline. I give the kid a ton of credit for being tough. He'd go to that sideline, man. He was trying to he's taking deep, bending over deep breaths. Not like, hey, I need a little more oxygen for cardiovascular purposes. Like, I am so hurting right now that I have to just try to get my head back straight. So he's tough as hell.
Yeah,
he really is.
And there's other injuries in that program. It's just such a different team. It's amazing what they've done. They were so good defensively last year. Remember how dominating that group was? Now they're built more around offense, but again, they're dinged up and injured in that situation. So this would normally be one where I would look at it and go, okay, you got a chance here. But you talk about the chaos that's surrounding this program. They're the opposite of that, aren't they?
Yeah.
With Mike Gundy, I was like, Gundy's our coach. Here we go. We'll figure it out. They've got that floor of about 7. You just don't see them fall below that, regardless of their issues, regardless of what's going on with them. They're just going to win at least 7 and then make a run every few years.
And then West Virginia on the road.
Yeah.
You guys ready to do the thing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's Taylor texting me here? What's Taylor texting me? Don't feel the people. Must have said something wrong. Taylor, give me more context of what you're just texting me because I don't understand. Obviously, I said something wrong, but it doesn't make sense. That's a first.
I was going to say, that almost never happens on this program.
Oh, I see what he did. He meant to say, don't forget, but it came out as don't feel. I had the feel. I was going like...
Threw you off.
Oh, yeah, that threw me off.
By the way, can we take a moment and appreciate the high-tech graphic? It's on the screen.
Boy, did we have a good meeting on Friday. Great meeting.
Oh, buddy, big things coming.
great meeting on Friday. How long were we there? Hour and a half?
Pushing 2, I think.
Pushing 2 hours.
It's on Beergate.
This is on the Hoppy Beer.
Was one of the bullet points.
It's moving.
That was one of the bullet points on our agenda at the meeting.
Which was what?
The Hoppy Beer.
Hoppy Beer.
Oh, that was just one?
That was just one.
My wife continues to roll her eyes at this.
Excuse me?
Roll her eyes.
She doesn't want it to happen?
Just like...
What, the fact that you're getting your own beer?
I don't know what it is. Just like...
What do you think it is?
Are you ever in the grocery store with Joan?
No.
And
ever. Never.
You're in the grocery store with Laura?
No,
Never.
I told you we haven't delivered.
Never mind, then forget the story.
Did something happen when you
I'm just
guys
saying
were in the
that,
grocery store?
You'll be out somewhere and some very nice person will come up and go like, Hoppy, listen to your show all the time. It's great. And she's just like, oh, he's insufferable.
That rarely happens to me. When it does, the few times Laura's just flat walked away.
Just don't need it.
Same thing with Joan.
Just immediately moves away.
Yeah. Like when someone does come up, Joan just like...
See, that's the same. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I guess
that's what I'm talking about.
Like, are you?
So I go home and say, "Guess what, honey? They're going to name a beer after me." It's like, oh, jeez, that's another thing we need. Get your ego a little bit bigger.
That's another thing we need.
Well, get ready because they're coming. They're coming.
The only thing I'm going to tell folks, as far as this goes, this will be the first piece because we are moving toward this. If you'd like to attend, all I'm going to say is, just put a pencil through January the 6th, Friday night, late afternoon, January 6th. Don't schedule anything else.
Like a capital insurrection.
Yeah, we didn't realize when we talked about
an insurrection of sorts here. You having a beer?
We didn't realize that it happened to be on that same day until like later on. They went, that's the same day as I said, sorry. But it's January 6th, the night before the Kansas basketball game.
Oh.
The Jayhawks are here in Morgantown on Saturday. So that's all we can give you. Is that fair?
That's a working date. It's a working date.
He always helps me like on the he always like smooths over like just because he's been in that business of laying cover. He always had to cover when he was in his career. He was like, hey, how are we gonna spin this? So now that is the working date, January
like a working
6th.
title.
Yeah, kind of like that.
Yeah.
And I will also say this, and I hope I don't go over my skis now. This is going to make.
Now you're going to. You should just end
Just
it right
stop.
there. You should just end it right there.
I know I'm going to give one more piece.
You
don't know what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you one more piece.
This is where it goes really sideways. That was pretty buttoned up. It was good. Gives people some warning. That was like a save the date mailer that goes out. Now you're going to ruin it, and you're going to go say too much and ruin this.
All I'm going to say is this.
I can't help it.
I can't help myself.
Just rolled right through the stop sign.
I am. I'm going through the stop sign. When we release it and when we do it, and it's going to be an event, there will be an extremely limited number of tickets.
That's okay. That was good.
That was right, which is fair. I'm just letting you know right now there's going to be an extremely limited number of tickets. Why? Because this is a proof of concept event.
What's that mean?
That means we want to see if this works in this format. And if it does, there will be others. But for right now, it's going to be it's a small sample size.
I understand, but there's also risk there because, you're making, it's like this is a big deal and we do it and it's got my name on it. My name is on it.
Well, it's a 3 guys production. We're all in it. We're all on it.
And there's 7 people there. And
right.
4 of them don't know that.
And here's the thing. Then if there is, you're going to get more Hoppy Kirchavails. More for you, and we'll sit over there, and we'll eat good food, and we'll giggle and we'll laugh, and that'll be funny, too, that only 7 people showed up to our events. So what? We win either way. What? And the 7 people that come are going to have a great time. So whatever.
I end up with like 67 cases of Hoppy Ale in my garage.
Great.
Karen will be, great. Hoppy, what are we going to do with all these growlers in the garage? Yeah. Anyway, here we go.
I'm going to need a icy mug and 3 weeks off.
By the way, I did receive also one other thing. I can't help myself. The ingredients did arrive.
Oh.
I saw confirmation.
Ooh.
Yep. The ingredients have arrived for
just so you think that he's doing his normal hyperbole and going over the top when it's not really real. It's real.
It's happening.
It's real.
That's happening.
It's going to be a Hoppy beer.
Dirk in Martinsburg. Guys, Hey, Taylor, put up the sign that hugs school. Here's a question. Where is Huggy? Mid-Val, Ohio, 7th grade. I was his classmate. So Hugs is in some of these middle school pictures, and obviously they're way too small. Is that Hugs on the cheerleading squad? Was there a male cheerleading squad there, bottom right? Probably not. He was probably on the basketball team. So we'll try to do our best. Taylor, we save that picture, and then Hop's going to the monitor. Hop, he looks like, here he is. Hop going to the replay review monitor, and he's taking a look. Can you find him? And look at junior high basketball champs.
He is up top there.
So Hugs is either the tallest kid or the second tallest kid, I would think. Can't see it? All right, come on back here. We'll post the picture on Twitter. Tony, you need to get a better seat. When Big Bob starts to move, you're jumping around like a 4-year-old at a Christmas parade trying to get a look at Santa. How much of the game do you see? Yeah, he sets a hell of a screen. He does set a hell of a screen. He closes on Lions' legacy. The facility upgrades and improvement gave West Virginia some of the best in the Big 12. Godspeed, Shane. Thank you very much. That's from Dirk in Martinsburg. Tony, I've always appreciated your play-by-play and podcasting skills, but now I feel an even greater bond. Like you, I also would have gone into auctioneering.
I forgot about that.
16 years ago, my best friend's wedding, I decided to auction off the last dance with my bride. My Hey Guys groomsmen and I got some rich uncles bidding against each other, and we got the couple an extra $450 for their honeymoon.
Strong.
This early success made me seriously contemplate leaving my budding career in politics. Just a few months later, citing the success of the previous effort, we attempted the same auction at another friend's wedding. Due to the absence of rich uncles, however, the auction was a total bust.
It's all about players.
I realized then, as Brad pointed out in the last show, that there's much more to auctioneering. But I must say, every now and again, in the midst of a crazy political campaign, I still wonder if I wouldn't have enjoyed chanting that good old cattle rattle more than filling the airwaves and mailboxes with negative political ads. Love the show. Y'all make my teenage daughter laugh, even though she could care less about sports. Matt and Tulsa. So I did.
Good
so,
text.
so Matt is
Good
doing.
text.
So he's not the only one. Corey in D.C. is also. He also makes negative political commercials. That's his whole thing too. So we got two guys that fill the airwaves with napalm of political advertising.
Might be the first time we've entered into the teen demographic. So that's positive.
Well, he's bringing her to school.
That's a remarkable change.
Right?
That is. That's rarely happens.
He's taking her to school. He's got the thing on his radio or on his car or whatever, and she's listening. She's going, "Who the heck are these?"
That's pretty good.
Is there something other than negative political commercials?
Occasionally you'll get Hoppy Kercheval. He's a man's man. He grew up on a dairy farm. He saved 72 kids one day along with a head of cattle. Why wouldn't you want him in office? He's Hoppy Kercheval.
Hoppy Kercheval.
Cow saver.
He claims he grew up on a farm.
But did he really? He drank evaporated milk from a can. He doesn't know an udder. Hey, three guys, Alex in Minnesota. When you guys were talking about public address announcers at basketball games, it reminded me of something. My senior year, I'm the PA announcer for the boys basketball team at Morgantown High School. When I would introduce the starting lineup, I would say what middle school that player came from, like you would the town on a college player came from. I had the privilege to introduce the great Michael Caridi into the starting lineup on senior night. When he was introduced,
this will be good.
When he was introduced per his request, it went a little different. I said, up next, 6'5" senior hailing from Serendipity Preschool, center Michael Caridi. He also wanted to be called Michael Bonesaw Caridi when he scored, which seemed weird at the time. But it was awesome when he stole the ball in the game and put down a two-handed slam dunk over the opponent. Telling Bonesaw over the PA that night was anything but monotone.
Where does Bonesaw come from?
I don't know. I conferred with Michael to see if this was true, and he said yes, and he said what he left out was actually when I went to the starting lineup, you know how you get off the bench and your teammates are waiting for you? Yeah. I put my arms out to my side and had him frisk me. The Bonesaw. Michael did.
Big shock that he went off the preordained script there
exactly.
that Michael would do that.
Michael had several slam dunks in his career, which obviously I have no idea where that came from. I had not that athleticism. Texter.
Hello!
Second-time texter. Both have had wedding references. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona, my niece's wedding, trying to watch the Pitt game on my phone during the reception. My table becomes popular with the father and the brother of the bride to get updates. At the end of the evening, the dance floor full of people singing Country Roads after that great win. So he's talking about the Pitt basketball game. Count me among the few that thinking letting Shane go was a mistake. His national prominence on different committees and connections he has had would have come in handy if another round of conference realignment comes around. I love the show. Can't wait to have my first bottle of Kirchaval. JR from Cumberland by the way of Hampshire.
See?
County.
We have to get,
So one of them, we got one sold.
We have to get regional distribution.
Got one bottle sold.
Pat McAfee question. Hello, guys. Mike from Charleston here. A lot of chatter about the Pat McAfee hype video and perceived allegiance to Texas basketball. I feel it's a fair topic for this forum. Pat was treated wrong by many students after the collapse in his performance against Pitt. However, are we to believe that our athletic department keeps alums, especially those in pop culture like Pat, at arm's length? Do we go out of our way to not interact or interface with those former players? Pat had a statement on Twitter that he has no interaction with the department. I can't imagine we'd shun anyone. What say you three?
What was the video?
I probably should go find it. Have you seen it? I have not. People refer to it.
No, I still haven't.
I don't know what it is, but the short answer to your question is, Mike, is that no, absolutely not. They don't distance themselves from Pat or others. No, there's no arm's distance at all. No, I know Neil, has made overtures, but again, I don't know. Just don't know. Texter, hello, gentlemen. Dusty in Durham, North Carolina. Long time, first time. I've been thinking about ways to retain players. How can we keep players for the old school 4 years? One way, which may already be percolating, is to provide a bonus to all who make it through the full 4 or more. Bonus paid after graduation or after the eligibility runs out. It might help keep the athletes on the prize, so to speak, and benefit our programs with some veteran leadership. It's doable, isn't it?
I think people just need to buckle up for this player movement, and you don't have to look far for a comparison. Think how wild recruiting got in the last 10, 15 years with the hat changes and the early commits and the decommits and the multiple decommits and that's what this is going to become now. It's just moved into current active players, and you've got money involved. But it's going to be that same system. There's going to be some logic involved. There's going to be some not logical decisions made. That's just what we're going to deal with. You're going to have to buckle up. It's going to be weird for a while. It just is.
I think realistically that a bonus at the end of 4 years, because they're doing that $5,980 academic thing, but you don't get that until the second semester starts, or you have to be here like in the fall, September-ish, to get that from the previous year. So that's one way of doing it. So that's a possibility. Texter, Jimmy Bell does have nice feet. Big guy in Mullins with good feet. Thank you. Hello, Jersey Jeff here. Tony, I hit you up on Twitter a while back with some great bread names. Of course, I'm award-winning bread maker. A lot of people know that. Bryce Ford Wheat Bread. Riles McBride. Todd Sourdough. Let me introduce this low-hanging fruit. Joe Croissants. That's really good.
Oh, the show.
Texter, feel free to tell me to keep dreaming. But if there was one way to justify Shane being released, it would be to make Bob Huggins as the new athletics director. Then let him bring in Darius Nichols as the new head basketball coach. Give Neil another year, see how it goes. I doubt Huggs would be interested, but the man embodies WVU athletics, and it gives him a chance to go out on his own terms while still being an integral part of men's basketball, as well as uses cachet to influence the other sports. I just think that would be an amazing transmission for our department, if allowed to happen. Thoughts?
Well, I mean, what Huggins does have is significant cachet, particularly if you want to raise money. I mean, Bob Huggins goes somewhere and says, Bob Huggins is going to be here, going to ask you for money. that would be a significant advantage. That would in his favor. And 2 is a West Virginia guy, Hall of Fame coach, so he's got some things going for him. The challenge is that this thing is, I don't want to say it's a young man's game, but it's a changing game. So it's about who can stay ahead of the curve or with the curve on this rapidly changing playing field. And that involves technology, it involves NIL, it involves transfer. I mean, you have to be an innovator and probably on that front. And I think that's a younger person's game.
Mike from Ahia, 4 games into the hoop season, and I really like what I see. Several players coming in, a lot of maturity. That maturity is showing up big time on the floor. May lack the talent of Kansas and Texas, but as Huggs says, your 5 might be better than our first 5, but are you better with your first 10? So far, a different player has shined, gives us the ability for players to have a bad game and still gives us a chance. On a side note, I went by for that camping a couple weeks ago, and he went to Burdett.
Oh.
And they did not
went to get the discount, huh?
They did not have one single flyer up on the fence with your guys' pretty faces. What up with that?
NIL negotiations.
We didn't release NIL.
Separate from the show.
Chuck from Lumberport, why in the hell does the defensive backs always try to strip the ball instead of tackling the receiver? Usually results in receivers gaining an extra 10 to 15 yards. That's tough. I mean,
because they're trying to strip the ball. trying to get the ball
back.
Something. trying to get the
play.
ball.
Right.
Colin writes in from Colorado. Saturday's game coincided with potty training for my toddler. The latest advice on this procedure involves removing all of your children's clothing and diapers for up to 3 days so kiddos can easily tell when they have to go. That also means you have to watch them with the intensity of a line judge on a goal line play. I'll leave the WVU game analysis to the experts, but I wanted to share some numbers on our potty training performance. Pleased to say we had 0 fumbles in the backfield all weekend.
Tremendous.
Sure, we left a few yellow penalty flags on the field, but luckily all were on hardwood surfaces.
Also big.
By the end of the weekend, we were moving the chains into the bathroom on both first and second downs. Lesson learned. It's a good day to be a Mountaineer wherever you may pee.
Well done.
Well done, Colin.
Hey, Taylor, save that one. Let's put that up on the YouTube shorts.
Well done, Colin. And best of luck as you grind through that process.
Yeah, really.
But isn't that interesting? So now you just say, take all their clothes off so that they know they can feel. I mean, that's
Can't
pretty
be encumbered when the time comes.
That's pretty interesting. You know, if you can do it in like 3 days, the kid goes like, wait a second, okay, I get this now. This here, this there, I get that. That's a huge help.
It's good he's moving the chains. Do you think his chains have that clear packing tape on it that West Virginians do that they use for measurement? Big wad of clear tape at the end.
Is it clear tape or is it duct tape?
No, I don't know. Because duct denotes that it's like the gray, right?
Yeah,
the packing tape is clear.
It was clear. Packing tape?
It was clear.
Well, that way they get the measurement exact, right down to the inch.
Big ball of packing tape.
We love it, Tony. One of our favorite over the course of 9 hours. Sometimes we have to entertain ourselves, and one of our favorite events is when there's somebody gets right up to the run the ball or pass and right up to the line, is watching the line judge run in to spot the ball. One of our favorite
I love it too.
occasions.
I got my buddy Dan works on West Virginia's chain gang.
Oh, he does?
Mm-hmm.
Ask him about that.
About the tape?
About the packing tape that's on the end, like where the chain link fence stuff ends, and then there's another little part. It's about that big.
It's just tape?
It's just like it's clear packing tape on there. It's just like, is that reapplied every game? Does that stay on there? Has it been there for years?
You know what I think, the latter.
It's been on there for years. Because probably once you get that stuff on, it's really sticky. It's hard to get undone. So like when you need more, do you just like add to it?
I just thought of something.
And does it change the distance?
Yeah, I just thought of something. So one of the great advancements, not everyone is using it yet, is the fluorescent digital number on the down marker.
Been out for a number of years now.
It has?
Yeah.
We don't have it though, right?
No, we haven't noticed.
But
busy looking at the packing tape.
Like, why aren't we doing this? So can't we have like a digital display? So you put the down marker down. Here's the line of scrimmage. And then you pull the chain out.
Mm-hmm.
but it's going to be different than a chain, and we're not going to use a chain. We're going to use different. But like, why can't it go like you pull it out and it says 10.0, right? That's how many yards you need. And then when you move this down stick, it says like 7.24.
Yeah.
So that the fans who are sitting behind the down marker can go like, it's 7.25. I mean, why aren't we doing that?
You know, it's a good point, because when I hang pictures in my house, I have one of those laser levels, right?
Exactly.
It shoots a laser out there.
Exactly.
Why can't we get some lasers involved in the technology?
Exactly.
It's a pretty good point.
Using freaking duct tape around the end of the, well, you said clear, wasn't it?
I think it's packing tape.
Packing.
I don't think. But if you know somebody on the chain, can get a clarification for me.
There's a
But
great.
why couldn't you do it like a laser beam shooting right through
got
there?
a great.
Okay, but what if? But you're saying that the chain measures the distance, right? And the chain would show.
You can have a marker. You can have a marker, like you have the down marker there, right? That they
So you
can
want like
see.
a shot clock display, but for yards.
Okay.
Yeah, because the shot clock this year, they went down to tenths of a second on the shot clock.
I know. And I'd like to combine that idea with a laser going between the two
Yeah,
things. So
I'm
it's
good
not,
with that.
So you don't have to use up all the chain link fence material.
If you had your laser chains and you stretched it out,
Right.
and the laser chain says 9 feet 11 inches,
You
okay?
need 9 yards.
I mean, so
9
9 yards,
yards
11 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. But the ball is ahead
Mhm.
because of the way it was spotted.
It's first down. It's where the spot is. Bring your spot. Bring your.
Wait a minute, I had something.
I
had
can
something wrong there.
I can find out if we have a P1 listener.
No, okay. All right, never mind.
We have a P1 listener at the packing place, at the UPS packing place on Patterson Drive.
Oh, really? I frequent that.
Me do too. I do too. Do you ever bring it? He's ever talked to you?
No.
He's a P1 listener. I'm going to ask him if like WVU came over and bought tape from them, and that's what they're using to wrap it.
Yeah. Or did they just have it back in that workshop that's down below? There's a lot of stuff down there.
Yeah, they got a lot.
Might already had a bunch of rolls in there.
Packing beans.
Styrofoam.
Did they check out that chain like at the beginning of the year and make sure it's...
It could be seriously. It could be like 9 yards and 9 feet and 8 inches. Could be 4 inches off. Texter.
Brad's mic is
Sean
ghost in the machine.
Sean in Florida. I now know what it's like to be a Rutgers fan. Expect to lose with no reason to believe it will get any better.
Ouch.
Oof, that was hard.
That hurts.
You didn't even give it all due respect.
Yeah.
James from Grafton, great train town. Hear me out, guys. WVU should play Nico or Goose next week at Oklahoma State. Got nothing else to play for, so why don't we see what these guys have in the green Nico Goose to see if after the season, if JT leaves, if we can trust those three or if we need to go buy a portal quarterback. Texter, hey, three guys. Have you ever seen a more thanks for having us than what TCU did to Baylor? Absolutely crazy. Logan in Myrtle Beach.
That was amazing.
Again, sometimes things go your way.
Sometimes.
So they ran an extra play when I'm not sure there was much of a need to run an extra play. TCU did at the end of that game. Picked up 3 yards, Kercheval, but gave up a lot of time.
Oh.
They then did a hockey line change, brought the entire field goal unit out, settled them, kicked the field goal, game winner.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And great job on the thanks for having us. That is an ultimate, Tony. That's an ultimate thanks for having us.
Oh, that's it.
I mean, that's an all-timer thanks. Because you not only got just the thanks for having us with the people rushing on, but you're still alive for the Big 12, Jay. You're still alive for the playoff. That's a big-time thanks for having us.
What if it didn't work?
Everybody would have been
a
killing you.
fireable offense. I mean, truly a fireable offense. I mean, sometimes things are results-based. I mean, you can make bad decisions that work out.
Think about it.
I don't know how you begin to justify that if that kicker didn't make you look good on that.
If you lose that game because you did that, and you don't go to the college football playoff because you did that, then you're forever tarnished in the view of the fans.
Yeah. That
would be the play that would always stand out. And the thing happened so fast. The kicker, I think, was still running on the field and just ran up and kicked the ball.
The risk reward on that.
Oh my gosh,
is totally out of balance. It worked. And they came through, so now it's one of those moments, if you go on and win the Big 12, get in the playoffs, or win, that's when hey, remember when Sunday night, remember when we did that? That becomes an all-time iconic moment, and that's how you know things are going your way, Kercheval, that worked. There's just no way.
Well, hey,
I don't know why you're doing that.
Rich in the Sugar Bowl fakes the punt. If that for some reason comes back to haunt you, like if they hit Phil Brady, force the ball loose, and they run down the field,
yeah.
then you're going, Rich, what were you doing? What were you doing faking
Why did you kick it back to him? What are you doing?
Exactly.
Great call. It was. I mean,
by the way, Rich won his league.
Oh, did he?
This past Saturday. Lined up. Beat Central Arkansas, punched him right in the face. Just punched him right in the face. Didn't realize this. They're not eligible to win the league, but they're claiming it.
First year?
Because they're transitioning. They said before the league started, you can't win the league. And Jacksonville State said, well, that's good. We're going UCF. We're going to claim it.
I would too.
We're going to get T-shirts.
Yep.
Going to get rings.
Would too.
And we're saying we won it because we won it.
Yep.
Why would they say you can't win it?
Is because they're transitioning out? Is that what it is, Brad? They're transitioning. They're going to Conference USA. So it's their last year in. So is it like something like
I don't know. Whatever. I'd claim it too. I'd do all of it. Banners.
I would have
ring
gone to
ceremony.
the officials and said, by the way, you're not going to win it.
Well, it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you this. We're claiming it.
I get a big felt. I get one of those big felt pennants.
I'll put it on the resume.
I'm going to get a big felt pennant and wave it. A-Sun champs.
I'll tell you who's claiming it is Rich's agent. He's going to be claiming it.
Won the league. What?
Don't know if you know this or not. Won the league. Came in, you picked a sixth, and won the league. Thank you very much. Hey, fellas. I don't so much want to discuss the product on the field in this text, but the product in the stands. I would like for you to read this to your listeners if you consider yourself a Mountaineer fan and you have an opportunity to attend games, but you don't. You're either, all capital words, lazy, or all capital words, coward, or all capital words, both.
Wow.
There are too many people who whine on Facebook when things go wrong, who don't really do anything to try to support the program they purport to love except whine on the internet. I get that everyone has whiny cowards on the internet among their fan base, but to have a half-full Mountaineer field at any time is unacceptable. I hope this hurts the feelings of the lazy, whiny internet cowards and fair-weather fans among our fan base, and either motivates them to make a little effort to support our teams or motivates them to disappear entirely. Go Mountaineers no matter what. Signed, Rob in Washington, Pennsylvania.
Well, he's with the base. He's the base of 32. What was there Saturday? 32, 35, something like that?
37 is what they said, I think.
37. That's the base. And the base is getting a little bit smaller each year, but the base is still there. But look, you got to win. You know?
Texter.
Got to win.
Hello, try to make this short. 1, I think starting Garrett Green was the wrong call. 2, do we know if Neal is calling the offensive plays? 3, I'm still on board with Neal for the long haul, and I say to those who leave best wishes, but get out of our damn way and let's go build this program to what we know it could be. Let's go, boys. Neal is not calling plays. Graham Harrell is calling the plays. Texter, in a sign of the times, we may have lost Charles Woods. Perhaps the most concerning pending loss is that of C.J. Donaldson. He has unfollowed WVU and taken down all of his pictures as it relates to WVU on his social media. Perhaps that serves as the greatest tell of all. So what you can say on coaching changes, but the cupboard may be bare again.
The Charles Woods thing was weird, and it's a bummer. That's another position we've talked so much about. You can't afford to lose another quality player. You did. The hope, Tony, there, I was hoping that Woods would be able to get a redshirt year and come back and provide a little bit of stability to that position. But the fact that he put out there on Instagram that commitment was coming soon and that he was out, and then to hear Neal Brown's comments afterwards that he hadn't seen him in 2 weeks and that he had checked out and shut it down, concerning. Won't be the last. C.J. Donaldson, if that's in fact true that Donaldson's out, that's obviously a massive blow. Massive blow to lose a guy that had so much promise, Hop.
Oh, my gosh. It was an instant favorite, right? So you lose – if he leaves, you lose that. I mean, what you hope – and, Brad, you talked about this before we went on the air. What you hope is the young guys in that defensive backfield who've learned under fire that you keep them, right? Because they now have a year under their belt.
Yeah, but also, as we talked, every position out there is fluid. Every guy on that roster is potentially fluid.
I'll tell you what's just crazy about this new world that we're in. When I left the Pitt game this year, C.J. Donaldson had the big game.
Mm-hmm.
My concern was that he was gonna be gone. He was gonna get grabbed up. Now think about him. He had a concussion, bad. His mom had to come up here. He'd stretchered off of the field there at Texas. Mom had to come up here and see him. Then he had the surgery. I don't know if his mom came up for that too. At that point, they're probably going like, dude, come closer to home. I could see that happening. And besides the fact that he's really going to be, he has the opportunity to be a really good player.
See,
so that's what is not fun about this new world. If I'm thinking about him leaving after he played his first game.
Correct. But welcome to the world, and that's also what athletic directors have had to do for years when your football coach wins. In the back of your mind, you're going, this is awesome, but now you know what I'm going to have to do. I got to try and keep him. So it's switched over to players now. I think the challenge for this isn't just the obvious that you lose your best tailback. I think the challenge starts to become for a program like West Virginia that's not in we need a couple of players to tip us over the edge to win a title. When you're talking rebuilding, now you're just getting into a numbers situation. Right? If you needed 15 contributors previously, you start to lose some of these pieces. If the quarterback room looks different, you lose Donaldson and that number suddenly grows. It just becomes difficult to get that many. Now, thank goodness the new rules allow you to go get whatever you can sign to get you to the number, but just having success identifying and bringing in that many more people, that just creates such a bigger challenge.
You know, and also it depends what Steve Dunlap, former assistant coach, always says all year about the defensive backfield is that even guys who've had experience playing other places, it's still different. It's a different scheme, and then you mix in some young guys, and guys are out of position, and you can't. You're just making mistakes. You can't get lined up right. You're making mistakes. You know, it's just not. You're limited in how much you can do defensively.
I think going forward, to be honest with you, schematically, you're going to build a base and say this is what we play. If you try to get tricky and like we can start to do geometry, forget it. Get on the field, get in the right place. That's your defense.
Look what happened with Oklahoma and Brent Venables, who's a great defensive coach.
Trying to do too much. But, you know, he can because he's going to be there for 3-4 years. They're going to let him do his thing. And he also didn't have great run defense in the beginning when he took over at Clemson. He had to recruit to his people.
You know, what Dunlap said, too, is that other teams obviously know that. And so each week, and how many times did Neil Brown said, you know, they did some things that we hadn't seen. So they just line up, and they line up a little bit differently, or maybe they go in balance, or maybe a guy goes in motion, and now
you got to keep
thrown off.
You know, for years when Miami was in its heyday, what would the coaches always say? What do they do defensively?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. They're going to stay in the same defense because they have such
guys.
They have athletes. They're just going to go like, fine, this is where we're going to be. Just try to get by us. I do think we're leaning toward that way. Not necessarily that you have the best athletes, but you just have to let your guys play football. Because if you try to gum the thing up, they're just going to have – it's not going to work no matter how much, you know, example. So, to the point, this is as bizarre and as crazy and as different, not only at WVU, but in the world of college sports that we've ever seen. I mean, this coming next window when the portal opens and these guys jump into the portal – followed by this December recruiting period, I mean, it is absolutely going to be just crazy.
Yeah. Not
just here, but I think we're going to see, I mean, it's like, you know, in the NBA in the summer when they have that free agent period, what is that, July, Brad? And people it builds up really. People are like looking at that going like, what's going to happen? How's it going to happen? And you know, Adrian Woj gets ready and like they're all over this thing, right? And like they follow it. This is what's going to happen in college sports. I mean, it's the same difference. You're going to get some premier names, and they're going to go, guess what? Like last year, Spencer Rattler, like Oklahoma to South Carolina. Man, major, huge get for South Carolina. That's what this is going to happen.
And that's why the timing of this AD hire and then the coaching decision is so massive. Because as you can see, if you take Charles Woods at what he posted, commitment coming soon, that would lead me to believe he already has an idea of where he's going.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But he's not even technically in the portal yet.
Right.
So there's clearly been some conversations about where to go before he's been in the portal, which is the world. We know that.
Can I throw it out there just so the portal's not open, right?
Correct. The window's not open.
But he knows where he's going.
Correct. So that's the world you live in. But West Virginia's staff is at a disadvantage now because they're probably getting some hard questions, I would think.
Yeah.
Right? And they don't have an answer to that. Now I know what they're just moving forward with it. Yeah, we're here, we're going to be here. They got to do what they got to do. But that's why this timing is so troublesome potentially.
Some speculation that Charles Woods will rejoin teammate Nick Troy Fortune at Texas San Antonio.
Excuse me?
Some speculation that he'll join Nick Troy Fortune at Texas San Antonio.
Are you suggesting that maybe there could have been some contact during a non-contact period for the transfer portal from whatever the rules and guidelines are, Brad?
That'd be an interesting decision.
Probably not, Hop. Probably if Charles wanted to leave, probably just went on the internet, started searching at those college catalogs, just kind of looking through and like, where would be a good spot for me? Probably just, hey, look at this one here, Texas San Antonio. Texter. Ben from the Morgantown airport.
Huh?
Well, I hope he's not
waiting for a flight.
Is he work there, or he's just hanging out at the Morgantown airport?
I think he works there. I hope he's not listening to us when he's trying to bring a plane down. Gentlemen, I'd like to inform you of the subconscious effect that the podcast has on your listeners.
Uh-oh.
This past Friday, I was working at the airport, and we were experiencing...
Where'd you work?
At the airport.
Okay.
We were experiencing a lengthy delay. Someone from our operations department messaged me and asked me to try to expedite getting the plane out. Without hesitation, I channeled in my inner Brad, and I hit him with, efforting that right now. Okay, there's the text.
Efforting.
See, right there, you can't see it because I don't know how the heck. We really got to do a lot better trying to get these texts big enough. Anyway, it says efforting that.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you listening, Ben.
But remember, safety first.
Hey, Ben, by the way, don't know how much swag you got there, but like if there's ever a Gulf Stream that's just going to be sitting there for a couple of days just hanging, let us know. We just like to take it out for a little spin. We'll bring it back in great shape.
Who's flying?
We'll get there's always
one of your all-time great requests. I thought you were going to ask for like a polo shirt or something. For a Gulfstream.
Let's just go get a doggone Gulfstream.
You're a big listener of the program. Appreciate you. You got a Gulfstream sitting over there we can use?
Why not? There's probably a listener. This crazy podcast thing, I bet you there's someone that's listening that's got their own set of wheels and some wings. Why not? We got a pilot that can. Hey, Brad.
Well, good, because we need one to go to Las Vegas and do a live show from Las Vegas around the Summer League.
Mm-hmm.
West Virginia's been owning the Summer League for 3 years, and we're sitting around twiddling our thumbs.
Efforting.
John in Virginia. Another disappointing loss.
Good job, Ben.
But the players, most of them showed competitive effort. Firing Neal solves nothing and makes no sense with the buyout. The real answer lies in admitting West Virginia is not built for big-time football. Find a conference, even at a lower level, where we can be competitive and make West Virginia football fun again. Money be darned. I disagree with you, John. We can be competitive. We can be in there. We can. But it's going to take money. What we need to do is figure out where you can get consistent dollars in that pool for the NIL, and then you just go out and buy players. Some in our industry, other schools, do have an advantage because they were forward-thinking and they've been doing it for the last 30 to 50 years. Now we have to jump in because it's no longer illegal. You just buy freaking players. As coarse as that sounds, that's what this is. This is the world that you are now in. You go buy the players.
It gives me, every time, it gives me a knot in my stomach.
I don't want to hear it. That's what this is. Senator, agree or disagree?
No, yes. But you also better button up the evaluation process.
Yes.
Because that goes hand in hand. You're not just going to have enough money to throw it at people.
No, you're right.
And make mistakes. So you better be able to understand how to evaluate what you need and who's good. And that's really hard. I get it. Recruiting's hard, right? You're trying to evaluate 15 and 16-year-olds and see how they project up. Maybe that gets easier now because you're going after guys that have signed at other programs. So you're trying to sift through there. So maybe it gets easier to evaluate than trying to project up and build guys up.
Yes. So the easy part of a very difficult equation is this. It is easier to determine if the prospective player, student, athlete has the physical ability of what you need to have. In other words, you can do a good job. Player personnel people have a pretty good record of figuring out if that guy can play corner, if he can perform at the level. Here's the hard part. What is their personality and what is their mentality? Texas A&M is a great example right now that it's not meshing. If you bring horses' behinds into your program, you're going to end up smelling like a horse's behind. The magic to this is getting guys with the right mindset and personality to actually play when they get here. That's the hard part.
Well, that's true. I think also that a budget will come into focus, like the NFL. Okay,
payroll.
Payroll. Left tackle is worth this. Quarterback is worth this. Wide receiver is worth this.
Mm-hmm.
Lineman's worth this, and running back. So that'll, I think those kinds of things payroll will start to come into focus. Yeah. It'll depend on the position and depend on how much money you have. But then, Brad, that gets back to your point, because that requires coordination. Okay, so what is the coordination going to be between the NIL group that's raising this money and paying them this money and the coaching staff?
Right, which I've said since day one. I don't know how this current model can continue. I don't know how you can expect coaches to have to go work with an outside entity to get money to get your players. Eventually, it's got to come in-house. But again, getting schools and the NCAA to come together on what that looks like, best of luck. But it feels to me as if this particular model is just untenable long-term. Just really does.
Super quick here, guys. Hey, guys, I messaged you last winter about the Thanksgiving pizza at Homegrown. Well, it's here for the next few days. Are you guys recording tomorrow, Monday the 21st? If so, I'd be happy to bring you one of the pizzas over if you let me know where and what time works.
Oh, man.
We missed it.
Why don't you pre-read?
And I'm in my window. I'd be crushing that Thanksgiving pizza.
Oh, man.
We're going to record again Wednesday. They still doing it? Also, Tony says, we have too many texts, no time to read them. Also, Tony says, let me tell you guys about falling down the YouTube rabbit hole of Dr. Pimple Popper. With all due respect, LOL, Bob in Williamsburg, the Dean, keep it tight.
Fair
also,
point.
The Dean, do you guys remember the rotary phone? How about the wall phone in the kitchen? Leads to a 5-minute discussion about the old phones and party lines. Yep. LOL, love the show, and you clowns, Bob in Williamsburg.
Yep.
Valid point.
Right.
We go off the rails.
Yeah.
Well, here's another text that we don't have time to read because we're jacking around. Basically, this person echoes. He attacks Mountaineer fans just like the previous text did. Here's another one attacking the fans from Mark and Buchanan. I'm really impressed with this year's team and how basketball-wise, and will we be the last? We'll fly under the radar. Next week, we'll be getting a lot of national attention. If this were the NBA, someone, Hugs, should be nominated GM of the Year. We traded McNeil, Cottrell, and Bridges for Stevenson, Bell, and Mitchell. We re-signed free agent Emmett Matthews and filled in the rest with some very capable athletes. I agree. It sort of resembles a TBT team. I hope I'm not being overly optimistic. I know the competition hasn't been too strong yet, but I think this team could make some noise in 2023. Love the show. Mark, not Buck, in Buchanan.
Very good. All the while staying under the threshold to pay the luxury tax.
Yeah. Last graphic. Taylor, put up the betting slip. Brad, I'm holding the Jets plus 3.5 in a tied game. 19 seconds left. Literally cannot lose the bet.
Yeah.
Guy then returns a punt 84 with 5 seconds to go. All-time bad beat. What's Spread's bad beat story? Chris and Cross Lanes.
That's a bad one. Had a bunch. If you play, you're going to have bad beats. That one was brutal. Punt return at the end. Kirchhoff got him. Well, I'll tell you what. You know what a lot of people had? The TCU game this year against West Virginia. West Virginia was covering that thing.
Yeah.
It was fourth down. Take a knee. Run the ball. Run clock. Cash that West Virginia +7, +7.5. Why are they throwing it? Hoppy, why are they throwing it? Oh, my God. They're not only throwing it, they're throwing it in the end zone. It's a touchdown. I just lost.
Bad beat.
A lot of people took that bad one.
Will the fact that West Virginia has 2 Power 5 non-conference opponents on its schedule discourage other coaches going forward?
Yes.
This guy's making an assumption.
Well, I mean, again, this job is going to pay a lot of money. There's not many of these jobs, so they want the job. If I was the agent for that coach coming in, though, that would absolutely be a talking point with the new AD. I would want more money or I would want an extra year. I want something in exchange for that brutal schedule. And I would say start working to buy out one of the games moving forward.
Oh, crud. Wait, I'm stopping the music. Hey, Taylor, put up the deal. Okay. I want to let you folks know, for those of you that are watching and for those that aren't, there is a GoFundMe page for a wonderful Three Guys listener. This is Brian from Williamstown, who sent us chocolate on a couple of different occasions. He has had just the absolute most difficult situation involving a health situation with his wife. So on this Thanksgiving weekend, if you've got it in your heart that you would like to help someone out to give thanks for what you have, check out his GoFundMe page. It's giving to Miranda as much as she has given to us. If you just go there on the GoFundMe site, and I put it out as a tweet as well, you can help them out. The story there will give you the full detail. So that's what I would like you to do. I'll mention it again on Wednesday when we record, but giving to Miranda as much as she has given to us. A significant medical situation there. Story is explained, and you can take a look. So that's for those folks. And again, I'll mention it on Wednesday. All right, let's turn the music back on again. Senator's going to be late for an important date, but he's in. Three Guys Before the Game, brought to us by the fine folks at the Burdette Camping Center. You can cash in right now $500 when you spend $1,000 off on parts, sales, and service. Visit them at burdettecamping.com. And by Comax Business Systems, happen to be your full-service Konica Minolta dealer. If you're a business owner, anything IT or equipment related, you got to talk to these folks. They're terrific. Visit them at comaxwv.com. All right, we're out. Did I forget something else? Taylor hit me with more. Okay, okay, we're done. We're out. Back on Wednesday with our preview of Okie State. See ya.